the conversation. You can join us on LinkedIn or Facebook. However, thank you for joining by way of Instagram, and we look forward to having a great conversation. Good morning, everyone. We are joining you live for another Tuesday morning leadership blueprint nugget conversation, and want to welcome you to the conversation on this second Tuesday. But I believe that our guest is joining us with a cup of tea, and I am joining with a cup of coffee. Am I correct, Miss Rihanna?
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, yes. So we are going to have a full and informative conversation with you. Good morning, Briquel. While we kind of guide you through what our conversation is for today. So normally on a Tuesday we do the chats. We talk about the GPS, your goals, positioning, and strategy. And it usually lasts about 20 to 30 minutes. When Official Ria comes in on second Tuesdays, we generally take a little bit of extra time because we know we are pouring into your cup with a whole bunch of information. So we thank you for joining us live and on the replay, and want to let you know that your engagement, questions, thoughts, and comments are definitely welcome. So without further ado, actually, before I introduce the topic, can you introduce who you are to the audience in case we have any um new people joining us that didn't join us last time when you were here?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in this bright morning, wherever you are tuning in from. My name is Rihanna Edwards, aka Fisheria, fractional COO and online business manager. I am the CEO and founder of Our Excellence Enterprises, and I help women CEOs and owners reduce their expenses, streamline their operations, increase their margins, and 10x their revenue. And I'm grateful to be here and ready to pour into you guys.
Yes, 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 yes. So she's pouring tea and I'm pouring coffee. So whatever which is your vice, even if you like smoothies, we got you covered this morning. So our focus conversation for today is that it's quiet quitter season. And with quiet quitter season, it's so many different things and so many different ways in which you can approach this conversation. If you were with me a couple weeks ago, I went strictly from the individual perspective. However, we are going to cover three different perspectives in this conversation. So I'm sure if you are the individual, if you are the executive leader, if you are the business owner, or you are the leader and manager, we have some tips and information for you in regards to how to navigate in this quiet quitter season. Anything you want to add to that?
No, let's get started. It's
Let's
a lot
get
here.
started. Let's
Yeah.
get started. So, like I said, we have a full pack information of conversation with you. And so the first thing we want to get started with is, what are you doing to retain your quiet quitters? Um, Rihanna, what you got? What can people do to retain their quiet quitters? Or I guess let's talk about the perspectives of the three perspectives that we're going to target, so that people know. I mean, I mentioned it, but I ain't really like
hmm
mention it.
Yeah. So, from an owner perspective, it's like lacking the insight
Mhm.
and planning accordingly when it comes to having protocols in place. So, having those contingency plans when you need someone to fill in a role, whether it was planned or it's impromptu. But that way, you're not scrambling last minute, because clients still need to be served, customers still need to have excellent service, delivery of products, things of that nature. So when it comes to the owner and CEO, you're likely not even you're not sure what's going on when it comes to your um, what is that, low level staff, people
Mhm.
who may not directly report to you. So if you're on vacation and someone is a silent or a quiet quitter and they just quit, you may not even know who they are, but you never took the time to get to know everyone that's on your team, make sure that they're actually operating in their zone of genius,
Mhm.
and have everyone to their best capability cross trained in all departments So when there is someone out sick last minute or they quit, you still can at least fulfill the day and plan accordingly for the next day.
Mhm.
So it's like, as an owner, you are the face and spokesperson of your business, but the legs and the vehicle is your team. So
Mhm.
without the team, I don't know what you got. Boats, maybe, and you're just rowing by yourself. But you have to have contingency plans in place, but also know who your team is
Mhm.
and know more than just their name or their position. Like, actually get to know them. And
Mhm.
that's how you'll be able to grow them, because they shouldn't just be working for you for no end result for in their benefit or lack thereof.
Right, right. And, actually knowing who your front facing team members are or who is managing those front facing teams. So then that would go to the leader and the manager. Like, how are you fueling and preparing them so that they stay motivated, intact with the productivity, and understanding their role as a leader to be able to navigate like effectively. So, like, a leader would be that person that recognizes that their assignment is to ensure that they can pivot between both executive management as well as the front facing team members that they navigate through, but that they keep the teams motivated and that they are, ensuring that whatever the outcomes are, that they give the support. They don't just say go Google it, don't just go, research it on their own. They give whatever level of support that hopefully that action taken team member is aware of, and making sure that they are complicit and compliant to learning. Versus a person who is a boss will just be that person. I gave you the task. I'm asking you to do it. I hired you for something. I have to do everything for you. Like, they take that degrading, and we'll talk about a little bit of micromanagement a little bit later, but they take that positioning of, you know, thinking about just do it, and then they're going to take all the credit as if they did all of the work for the things that you have done, where it will leave you looking and feeling overlooked and underpaid. So then from a productivity standpoint, you may not give it your all. You may not be, conditioned or excited to do those high level deliverables, because as you pivot between executive leadership and front facing clients or service delivery, whatever your program is, you challenge or leader. But sometimes some of the skill set that is necessary, you have to be mindful. So it shows that you're going through the motions, but are you actively doing what you need?
And it's really about, leading by example, taking
Mhm.
more, taking the actions and the necessary measures of exuding the value
Mhm.
more so than the title.
Correct.
You should be up, coaching your team up versus just trying to focus on profits.
Right.
Focus on the serving, not on your clients, but also your team. I always say that's a twofold sector. Your team is the one who's helping you, like I said, drive this vehicle, and your clients are the one who's putting money in the gas tank. You can't do both. You can't do either without leading them by example and leading them to the right direction, to the destination. And
Hmm.
then managing, understanding the difference between the two is like managing, you're just overseeing, but also being able to manage and influence. Like, when you're a leader, you're able to influence your team. You should be able to influence your team,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
exude values, make them, they should be able to be a role, you should be a role model, and they should respect you, more so in lieu, I guess, like you, but
Right.
respect goes a long way.
And it's defined differently. So it takes from you acknowledging all levels of success, all wins. As an effective leader, you will acknowledge all wins. You would acknowledge, the strengths that individuals have, and not placing someone in a lane of genius that's not their lane of genius, unless you're building them up and pouring into their cup so that they can get to the next level of their career. However, you have to be mindful of what lane of genius that you actually are placing people in. So with that, that gives you the perspective of the angles in which we have prepared this conversation to kind of cover all of those things. So then once you know your lane and know your role in the situation, it's important that you have conducive work expectations in the workplace. So that would be like being mindful of how you do creative and productive workspaces, what resources are like available, and really being realistic with the task to deliverables that you pour out or that you have expectations for. So, in conducting a conducive work environment from the lane in which you sit, Brianna, what are some of the challenges and or gifts that you find with some of these quiet quitters in this season?
Well, in this season in particular, as I think most offices are work from home or they have hybrid work right now, but you want to create like a productive and mindful workspace.
Mm-hmm.
Let's set intentional days, intentional weeks with that connects to objectives.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know we're not just doing busy work. We're not just overflowing team members or onboarding new employees with information and the excess of projects that you didn't get to. So you
Right,
just delegating. No, you're just shifting the responsibility. You're not really delegating.
right.
Um, busy work doesn't I would say busy work doesn't like solidify that your business is in motion, if we could say that.
Mm-hmm.
Your team is more productive in like a 4-hour work span versus having to work 8 hours plus.
Right.
Unless
Yeah.
they are, answering and serving clients, whether it's questionnaires and stuff, have hours of operation and enforce it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you only want, if your business, whether it's online or it's a brick and mortar, if you're open 10 to 6 or 10 to 7, then let that be the communication.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if someone wants to email you or reach out after 30 minutes after, there should be automated message that says, we received your message and we will respond to you next business day. In the order it was received. You get those messages or those
Right, right, right,
emails and things
right,
like that. Yeah,
right,
you're a business owner. Let's put these implement these systems in place.
right.
Let's don't feel like you have to overdo it.
And be all things accessible at all times, where you're not mindfully being responsible to your wellness and your self-care as a leader, as well as you're setting the example that you expect your team and everybody working with you to also overextend and be neglectful to other areas of their lives, because that's the example that you're setting.
Yes, it's really the setting boundaries and clear boundaries. That's what the expectations are when you're in business is make sure everyone's on the same accord. So
Right,
there is no misconfusion. No, this is what we agreed upon
right.
when before you started working. And when it comes to a project, we set the clear objectives for the week, the clear
Mhm.
objectives for the day, and have intentional meetings. We don't need to have 4-hour long meetings with no implementation. That is a waste of a day.
And especially if
And
you're having a meeting about the meeting, like
a
what?
meeting about the meeting. No, let's have some bulleted points. Okay, let's come to the meeting prepared, everybody, not just the leader of the
Mm-hmm.
meeting. No, 30-minute intentional meetings twice a week or as needed. We don't. Everyone don't need to be meeting every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Some things can be an email, a nice memo. Okay, let's operate as a business.
And I just
Operate as a business.
I just want to go back for a second, because
Mhm.
you are mentioning how the effectiveness of a workday is in 4 hours. Like we can really attack like whatever our strategies to win that we hopefully set the day before, what we were going to attack today. That these are our strategies. But the 8 hour work week 8 hour work day comes from an archaic mindset back in the day when it was like factory workers, and they were guaranteed an 8-hour workday, and they were guaranteed like being paid, an X, amount of dollars. And so then therefore it was put in that maybe they had a 30-minute, kind of break, 15 minutes to 15 minutes, whatever, however it worked out. So that is of an older mindset. When we first went into this work from home due to the public health scenarios that were happening around the world, people found that they were more productive because of the accommodations of being, flexible, having to join, virtually for whatever reason. But what we found in this time is the neglect of, you can get more done when you are solo or like independently working in your space with your teams, and get more done in 4 hours versus a total of 8. So that's where some of the shift is. I see our family is in the building this morning. Good
Yes.
morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Yes.
This is Dr. Princess had mentioned, which is why leaders should have healthy understanding of each person's role. It's difficult to assist a team member when you don't have any idea what their role entails. Yeah, everyone needs to make sure we are all in the same accord.
Right.
Operating their zone of genius. The project manager is not out there uh, facilitating office supplies. That's two different two different lanes. Just
Right.
because you have the team doesn't mean you can just delegate minuscule tasks, things that doesn't align. If they
Right.
operate in their zone of genius, they're going to be more flexible and innovative with their performance and their production. Encourage them to have their autonomy.
And that's real instrumental. Like when you think about someone who's in leadership, striving for executive leadership, or like a manager, and they're that pivot between both executive leaders and the front facing or client facing individuals, that they're the ones that bridge the gap, if you will. So it's like they have you. It's beneficial to become a collaborative partner, like understanding the skill set, understanding the strengths, understanding the challenges where you may need to push in to kind of support, someone to grow, as you mentioned earlier, into the role that they're desiring to be. But that collaborative partnership is going to equal and develop that autonomy and that confidence, and that, moving out of their way and pulling the curtain back and really standing in their space of authority. Because not only are you acknowledging what they do well, you're building them up. You are giving them the resources so they don't feel like they're at the dollar store versus a high-end store, being able to deliver that productivity at the highest level that you would desire. And making sure, again, that it's a mindful workspace. You're mindful that you are working with humans, and not and not non-human people.
I agree. It takes a village to nurture your A team.
Right.
We are here today.
Right. And so in preparing to make sure that we had a full scope and picture of this conversation, we came up with a lot of the workflow statistics, so that we can kind of help you see what leads to promotions or what doesn't lead to promotions, what leads to the pay increases, or what are some situations that don't necessarily fall into what the a pay increase or a productive day looks like. So you might see us, we do have some notes in this particular area. You might see us looking at our resources, because some of the statistics that we came up with was kind of surprising, because some of the numbers that we had have either changed either up or down. But we want to share that with you. When you think about what are some of the values and the reasonings that kind of back up why is quiet quitter season from all levels and perspectives that we're talking about? You want to jump in there?
Yes. Like the ratio of disengaged employees, quote unquote, quiet quitters, is around 2-1, which is the lowest in almost a decade. So that's over 50%. Job switchers are seeing an average of almost 9% salary bump when they go to another employer, most likely for the same position.
You might have to
While
repeat
their
that. You might have to repeat that for the people in the back where the coffee didn't set in just yet. You might have to repeat that number.
job switchers are seeing an average of about 9% salary bump when they switch employers, in lieu of their coworkers who stay loyal to that employer. They're only seeing an average of about 6%.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you are a business analyst earning, I get easy numbers here. Okay, so if you earning 50,000 at company A, and your annual increase is probably only about 6%. I guess that's on the high end, because I have seen about
3% or
3%,
2%.
right, which is only about 3,000 at the most annually.
Mm-hmm.
Now, say the same person goes to a different company for the same position. Now they can negotiate because they have the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So they can now negotiate from 50,000 to, let's say, 10%, because 9 is close to 10. I'm gonna go 10%. That's
Right.
another 5,000. Yes, it's from 3 to 5. That's not a lot, but when you break it down, um, it does add up. Every dollar matters. Every penny
Mm-hmm.
matters, and it just goes to show you that, I don't know if it's a certain generation, but my millennial cousins, yeah, we know, as we would say, run me the money, make it make sense. If it's not making sense, they will.
It ain't
Yeah,
$10.
that's why quiet season is here. Quiet season, it's always been there. They just added a
I was gonna
title
say
to
they
it.
just added a name to it. It's always been there.
Definitely add a name to it.
And we actually have the confidence to advocate no matter what
Mm,
age group that you're in. Like you have more of the confidence to understand your skill set
mm-hmm.
differently. So now that they've put a name to it, only gives it more permission for you to navigate, advocating for what it is that you need, especially as companies begin to pivot back, either back into the office or hybrid or like whatever that looks like to build. Remembering you only need 4 hours to have a productive day, but how you present that to executive leadership is not, I only need 4 hours. You show them from the strength and what is the capacity, and from the resources that you need, how you can get them the same bottom line with an abbreviated schedule or with a flexible schedule of sort. So you're not saying to minimalize, but you're showing your strength that you still need that 8 hour day, but you can be most successful with 4 hours and not having a meeting about the meeting. I remember in executive leadership, we would have a meeting at close to the meeting, they would wrap it up, and they would say, but meeting 2 days to like review something like a couple of the points. Why? Allow us breathing room to get the job done and then report back about that. Not to have a meeting about the meeting either in the same day or a couple of days later.
Yeah. We have to work together,
Mm-hmm.
and the team should know the company goals,
Mm-hmm.
the company's vision, so we are all working towards the same destination.
Mm-hmm.
But as the leader and the CEO with the vision,
Mm-hmm.
we also have to, we also should um, identify what our team's goals are,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that is in alignment with the products that we are delegating to them.
Mm-hmm.
Say they do want to become a leader at some point, and
Right.
you're literally only giving them very minuscule tasks to do. I had experience like that. I was like, hey, I want to have more responsibilities, and it was like I was just they didn't. It was the trust.
Right.
It was the trust where it's like, couldn't talk to clients yet, and it's like, yeah, I don't know, because but before that job, I was dealing with Social Security payoffs and stuff in the real estate industry,
Mm-hmm.
um, cashing out like different large funds of money. So it was like going from you're dealing with confidential documents, personal information,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're going into a new employer, and then they just don't trust that you will deliver the same results. It almost like an insecurity in their leadership.
Correct.
And at
Because
some
they
point,
hired you for a
they
reason.
hired you for a reason because they know they need the help, but it's like it's still an acceptance phase that they have to endure, where it's like wanting to control everything,
Mhm. And be
once
over involved.
over involved, overcompensating, and making and trying to micromanage all those tools. You're just slowing down the performance. You're just slowing down the productivity. And then here we are, hindsight, quiet quitters. Um, yeah.
And so one of the statistics that we came up with was also saying, too much downtime may be bad for you, because they found that in a recent study, like 35,000 people found the happiest people have about 2 to 5 hours of leisure time each day. 2 to 5 hours of leisure time. So when they had that, those who had over 5 hours of free time report lower levels of happiness, and likely because having too much downtime undermines your sense of purpose. Because if you are, as you just described, you were able to get more done, in that shorter time, and asking for additional things to be trusted with, um, your sense of purpose shows value. You have meaning. You're creating that meaningful workspace that we just talked about a moment ago, because now you feel that what you contribute to the puzzle is is like so much more specific, so much more beneficial and helpful overall. Dr. Princess says, and if goals happen to change, the entire team should be fully briefed.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Teams get upset and undermine leaders, make decisions affect the whole team, but the whole team wasn't considered.
Mm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that comes from that top down boss mindset. You just made a change and you just kind of got to flow with it. And sometimes as executives, that's necessary, by how you deliver what that change is, and the purpose and the reason, including them from a standpoint, can really change how they receive the information, as opposed to being like a territorial, I'm going to beat you up situation. Not beat you up, but
Just a segue from that. I mean, I know when I was like an executive assistant, I was more privy to certain meetings, so I could see the change, the daily change. It was no, it wasn't daily. It was like hourly changes of new goals. Um, so I became used to it, or used to that
no.
type of used to that type of I don't know what you call it. It wasn't no results, but so when it was
But the management style, that team style.
wow. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
It's going. I think you're going in and I don't know if I'm lagging or is that. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I hear you.
You can hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
I was saying to like segue with the Dr. Princess's comment. It was like when I was like a former executive assistant, I was more privy to like the hourly changes that the C-suite executives were aiming for, like their goals and stuff, which was pretty much based on financial reasons. So I got used to it. But when it was communicated to the full staff, everyone was confused, and it was like deer in headlights, because one, there was no preparation.
Mhm.
Two, there was like the instructions weren't clear. So as a result, it was like the deliverables were not up to par. Performance wasn't there. Everyone's scrambling, and then again, it was hourly changes. So by the time they wrapped their minds around that one goal, the goal was changed by within an hour by the next morning. So
Mhm.
it's like we have to make sure that we not only we have the goals in place and we are communicating them, but we are also having the amount of resources, the time, and the bandwidth to execute those objectives. Because every goal is important, but we have to prioritize them. Yes.
We definitely do have to prioritize them. Um, And thinking of like what you just said, being proactive, having a prevention plan, kind of goes into our list, like kind of some of the last bullet that we wanted to kind of cover today was the 3 P's: being proactive, having prevention, and having a prevention plan. And so, like, recognizing the gifts or the benefits of, are you doing micromanagement or are you delegating? Um, as, where is our managing tasks, and we're constantly learning over and over again if they're capable, if they can do it. Are you breaking up over there?
I couldn't really hear you.
Okay, so I think the first, micromanagement versus delegation, on
Yes.
our talking points. So I don't know if you want to go to the second one.
Yes. So it's in order for your team and you to achieve the goals that you have in mind for your vision, you're not going to be able to increase your productivity or performance or your profits if we don't relinquish the control, the anxiety, and the feeling of, I know how to do it, so I'm going to do it because I know I can do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And we go back to what I said before. It's about, there's an insecurity in the leadership when it comes to trusting that you not only hired the right staff on your team,
Right.
which is they're likely to be experts or specialists in their role, but you can also trust that you made the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
If you're second guessing yourself every time you delegate something, then maybe they shouldn't be there.
Correct. Correct.
Maybe they shouldn't be there. Let's not waste money if that's the case. If you're gonna be working double time, then let's not hire the staff, and
Right.
let's make sure we have productive hours. But I mean, your deliverability will decrease, but because that staff member isn't there,
Mm-hmm.
we can't maximize the deliverables, the fulfillment, and our profits
Mm-hmm.
without trusting and relinquishing the control and delegating the rest to our team.
Mm-hmm.
Delegating clear objectives to the team, clear
Mm-hmm.
projects, clear assignments, assigning clients to an account manager. From a client perspective, I like when I know who I should go to when I have an issue. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to go to the C-suite executive, but if there's like all these people who I may or may not know, never had a communication with, or is inconsistent,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna skip the ladder and go to the top because someone's gonna figure it out. I'm gonna let y'all figure it out. But my question is gonna get addressed with the decision maker.
Right.
That's just from a client perspective. And if you don't want that, then let's assign the team to, as from an account manager perspective, assign them to and allocate a certain amount of clients to them so their workload is clear,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't decrease the performance of the other day-to-day operational objectives and tasks that have to get done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have to avoid the productivity burnout by feeling like we can do it by ourselves, or feeling like um, Jasmine operates the best, so we're gonna give her everything. No, no, no.
Mm-hmm.
If she is not a person that designs a logo, let's stop giving her the flyers.
Right.
Let's stop giving her the flyers. No, she did not do that.
Unless she has a budget to go outside and figure out, she's the one to send it out somewhere and just oversee that project by somebody with that strong skill set. That's a different conversation.
Yes. But I mean, even then, there should be someone else doing that. I don't know. That's just me. Like, man, I
Right.
don't. Every minute counts. Every second counts. Every dollar counts.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
have to associate the time of our worth, like having those intentional 4 hour work days
Mm-hmm.
to our best capability. Maximum
Right.
of 8 if you have to, but if we're gonna do 8, then do 4 day, 4 day work weeks
That too.
versus 5. Um,
Possibly even a 3 day.
three would be amazing.
Three would be amazing. Yes.
3 would be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That would be amazing. Yep. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That would the weekend
Oh
was
yeah,
nice and
yes, yes. You could be
I could
productive.
do that.
You could plan family time. You can, as a consultant and contractor, those are the best days to work. If you're in
Mm-hmm.
a school or in a corporation, because on Fridays people check out. They might show up, but then how productive are they really? They're really
Mm-mm.
looking at the next week when it comes to Friday and Monday. If it's not a holiday, they're kind of trying to say, okay, how can I recenter and reorganize how it is that I can be productive in this week? Of course, you and I both have strategies and resources that can help the executive or the leaders or whomever to be more effective in that, and ensuring that they're not over functioning and kind of living and driving their team with anxiety versus productive skill set. But it's like, how can you have that one language and share that one team aspect with the voice of productivity and having a strong plan?
When I had mentioned the twice a week meetings, I was really insinuating Mondays and Fridays.
Oh,
Yes, because I mean, I feel like that obviously it would vary based on your business model.
and the
But
structure that you're working in.
yes, and sometimes there may be projects that you may just requires, some hours on those days. But if you set your week up strong and
Hmm.
you have a review at the end of the week, then we have you know what's going on. There's a flow.
There's a flow, a
There's a
workflow.
flow. There's touch points. Everyone should be on the same accord. And when in doubt, there's still email communication available or team chats where people can just chime in small concerns or feedback for immediate action.
But it's also a
Um,
way, it's so many resources, as you just said, emails and workflow. There's also so many resources, and I don't necessarily want to give out names, and we're not getting paid any sponsorship for them. But there's different workflow things that throughout the week, it's not saying you're not communicating, but to ensure that you don't have quiet quitters, there is communication. Like, you can have a checkpoint that if you have a question about where somebody is, you can go to that workflow sheet because they're keeping that updated to where they are and posting questions or posting results or posting outcomes of what they're working on, which again is that collaborative partnership where you're not on a top down micromanaging there every second. You took 5 coffee breaks. Did I take 5 coffee breaks, or did I make 5 power moves to make our business a success?
mm, that was it. Implementing project management tools. Um, I'm not even going to tangent there. Implementing project management tools is how you're able to hone in on the performance and productivity of everyone. So everyone is on the same accord. I mean, obviously, as the executive or the manager, you have admin role, so they may not know what you are completing, but there should be things that even you are
Mhm. Contributing.
contributing, yes, on the tool. So they
Hmm.
know that, if you say you're gonna do things, they can hold you accountable. Because
Powerful.
sometimes it could be the leader where it's like, oh, I forgot to sign off on that bill to pay that invoice.
Hmm.
Um and now our balance sheet's all messed up. Sometimes it's you.
Right.
And we have to have that introspection of I need to be held accountable too. Everyone needs to be held accountable. That's what a team is. That's
And
what a
if
team is for.
if you, as the leader in that pivotal role, have quietly quit and haven't recognized that your motivation has shifted, then you might be the gatekeeper that's making all of the outcomes slow up, or all of the expectations not be their best. So it takes that personal inventory of recognizing where do you need to pull the curtain back, and either recognize that either you need to take a break, you need to delegate more things that's on your plate so that you could be effective in maybe a smaller scope of tasks. And smaller doesn't mean that you're not capable to do the more, but it's recognizing what your capacity is in that particular season. And a season could be for the project, for that week, for the 2 weeks. How can you put out your arms to say, you know what, in this area, can you assist me in this capacity? Because it would help me be able to focus and laser focus in on something that else that's important, that contributes to what it is that we have to do.
Yes. And even Forbes, the Coaches Council, they had some lessons
Mm-hmm.
from, I guess, experiences or mistakes that some CEOs, high level CEOs, have made, where it's like, get to be transparent and own your mistakes, have the courage to make unpopular decisions,
Mm-hmm.
act in the interest of your people,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
create a position to motivate everyone. That's another nugget that we had mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Strive to be respected more than liked. Accept your mistakes in front of others and maintain evenness of mind.
Mm-hmm.
There was one
Like
model.
no secret apologies, or no secret, I didn't
Hmm.
mean to do that. Like if you did something out in front of everybody, then you need to correct it out in front of everybody, because that
Yes.
also impacts the working in mindful spaces.
Yes, it's the culture that you are,
Creating, developing.
you are developing this culture, so they see what the standard is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one model I learned when I was working with them, but it was like, you have to listen,
Mm-hmm.
empathize,
Mm-hmm.
apologize,
Mm-hmm.
react,
Mm-hmm.
and now take immediate action. When it comes to the leaders, these are, no one will be perfect. That's a clear. We are all human,
Right.
so there are likely to make mistakes, but we have to be vulnerable enough to take the accountability, apologize quickly.
Right.
I completely understand. I take full responsibility for everything. Even if it wasn't you. I mean, that sometimes, if it really wasn't you, sometimes it's hard to take that pill. But,
Right. Right.
I take responsibility for your experience. We say that.
Mm-hmm.
How can I, what can I do best to improve your experience, and just provide service.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not, like I said, it's not only the clients, it's also the team.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are all working on one accord.
Mm-hmm.
For your clients, you need to get their deliverables, whatever that is, whether it's a service or product. That's what they want. That's the end result. They want
That's
transformation.
it.
They
Mm-hmm.
want, if your business model is teach them how to make money, they want money in their bank account.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that happens.
Right.
If you're a product, like e-commerce, make sure the product is delivered. Make sure it's
Mm-hmm.
not damaged. Make sure, it's all about service. Your
It is.
reputation.
It
There's
is.
only but so much that we can control, but we can control our actions. We
Mm-hmm.
can control our behaviors. We can control our the team culture. But it starts with you taking the step to lead by example and
Mm-hmm.
nurture a team, so everyone's on the same accord.
Right. And I'm thinking about just a little pivot. Like the language in which you're speaking is from an executive, like kind of corporate perspective. But I'm also thinking about Dr. Princess's population that she works with, because I've worked with that population also in building leadership and so forth. So the outcomes may not always show up as money, although currency looks differently for everybody. But what is the improvement of the goals? Like, where did the student start, in September? Where are they at in November? Where are they at in February? Like, being able to look at those milestones every time it's a reporting out period of, say, their report cards or whatever. You can actually mirror that in a leadership situation. However, you have to be able to know what the currency is in your space of leadership, because the currency may not always be from a financial standpoint, although anybody who works in education knows that there's the financial aspect in the background, but the evidence comes through how are we moving that needle? What is that 2 millimeter shift that we're encouraging for the learning curves to not be a curve, for it to be a straight line, and for the deliverables of the skills that we want people to learn to be able to transfer that from how they intake the information and how they're able to be productive, because then what that does is it transfers when they become into the executive leadership role as an adult. They now know how it is that they learn, they now know how their strengths are, they know what interventions and so forth that they need, because they've learned it in their academic settings in earlier spaces in life, such that they're able to create their deliverables in a different way, but they're understanding how they can be preventative and grow effectively.
Yes. I had a nice response to that, and it is,
And
woo,
what happened?
the tea burned it out my mind. They're gonna
No,
make
not the
tea.
tea.
It's gonna come back. It's all right.
Okay, okay, okay.
Oh yes, I'm glad Dr. Princess. That was the Lord. Okay, you need to have data points. This is how you're able
Absolutely.
to review the metrics of the success, whether
Hmm.
that is monetary success, confidence success,
Hmm.
just overall success. Success is subjective,
Hmm.
but there is a result there is a result.
There's results. Yeah.
There is a result. Dr.
I mean,
Princess.
and even like with Dr. Princess, like
Mm-hmm.
it's parent and parent engagement results, is
Mm-hmm.
teacher parent management, relationship results, is so many different things. So those data points, those scores, those attendance, those productivity, whatever the outcome is in your lane of genius as a leader, you are the executive to ensure what needs to be executed to have the deliverables, even if it's an uncomfortable shift. It's going to be the shift that's going to accept the mistakes. We're going to learn from the mistakes. We're going to learn from the holes that we had, and kind of put in, strategies so that that prevention plan now is a working and living document. Again, however you track your workflow, you're able to go back and show the evidence of when you saw the breaking point
Mm-hmm.
and when you were able to kind of move forward. When people are in that workspace in that perspective and they see the growth, they see that when there was a missing piece and you were able to fill in the gap, that eliminates the morale or the thinking that I need to quietly quit. It kind
Mm-hmm.
of gives them more reasons to be engaging, because they see the execution, they see, yes, it might take a little extra work, in this particular capacity, but they're able to kind of measure it and grow and kind of lean in to having a balance of perspective and a balance of what my value is on this team, or what understanding my touch point to this team.
And one quote I wanted to, or one statement I want to kind of wrap that up with is, the sooner the employers, which is the leader,
Mm-hmm.
CEO or the
Mm-hmm.
manager,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
align on expectations, recognize performance, understand boundaries, and have meaningful conversations with team members, the sooner employees will feel more inclined to outperform expectations. In hindsight, reduce quiet quitting. You have to give them the incentive
Mm-hmm.
that they want, that they should be there.
Right.
That, I
Right.
mean, some
And that
people
you
love
value
to
them
enjoy
there.
working, and some people want to, they love the company, they love the morale. Maybe they like just being with the other coworkers.
Right.
It really starts with you creating that culture in the beginning. Um, and then if they do quit, you're at least encouraging them to follow in the right steps, but you have to provide the roadmap for them to do that, so they don't have a bad experience. Because now, if they're leaving as quiet quitting, they quietly quit for a reason. So now your reputation is probably going down.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah.
Um, so then now we would be going into like kind of what's next. We've given you, a lot of the tools and the steps and the things that you may or may not be experiencing. And so you're like, okay, so what's next? Now that I know, that quiet critters exist on all levels, front facing individuals, non-front facing individuals. I know that I need to create like a mindful and sensitive workspace. I've heard the statistics, um, we can create like the productive plan as far as what's the strategies on moving forward. So then when you look at what's next or how it is that the blueprint can be built, how would you start that what's next conversation, Ria?
Hmm. One thing I do with my clients is review what's going right and what's going wrong. So the inefficiencies within their internal operations. I mean, that's coming from the client perspective, their team's perspective, the CEO's perspective. So that's three lenses of review where you're then able to analyze and implement strategic planning to foster the goals that you guys have in mind, and then make implement those actions to
Mm-hmm.
achieve those goals. You have
Mm-hmm.
to review first. Review the measures in your operations because it starts with the internal.
Right.
You can't try and you can't aim to scale and get more clientele if you're failing in the delivery and
Mm-hmm.
fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what's going right or going wrong in your business, how are you just going to continue moving forward? We have to take a pause and reflect, assess, and evaluate on the business health, the business performance, the overall success or lack thereof of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Structuring it and organizing it in a position where it is to the point where you can, maybe scale or acquire more team members
Mm-hmm.
so you could become more operable, profitable, and successful business legacy. It's one thing I shared in my free training videos, like the roadmap where we review, organize, automate, and delegate operations. Um, at the link here, bizwithria.com. Just identifying the clarity that you need within your operations and how you can create a better work environment, improve the performance, productivity of your teams as well as yourself, so you
Mm-hmm.
can increase your revenue,
Mm-hmm.
increase your margins, and stop working in your business so you can start working on your business.
That part. That part. And so, from my perspective, I would do the same in working with either individuals, businesses, or corporations around building that leadership strategy and blueprint, but being able to identify how are you positioning yourself, how are you positioning how it is that you get promoted, how it is that you recognize the outcomes in your own personal capacity to kind of see it from A to Z. Sometimes we get stuck in the middle of the alphabet because we haven't navigated with the GPS like effectively. And so the formula that I utilize in my business strategy blueprint is that we got to figure out our goals and we got to be specific in regards to how things are moving and working for us. And in doing that, you may think that your goals are crystal clear, but you're missing some of the smaller steps that kind of get us there. And so then once we peel back the layers to know what the true authentic goal, both the in the moment goal and where you prefer to be goal, then we can engineer backwards on what are the steps and things that you need to do differently by planning and positioning you into different situations such that you are no longer being overlooked and underpaid or not considered for having the capacity that you can be promoted or you can do something, that is going to help the team not only level up, but that you feel that your purpose in that conversation and in that role has um has fuel, has purpose, has necessary elements because you know what it is that you bring to every single meaningful meeting that you guys have. And then with that, you have the strategy to kind of move forward. So being able to pull a curtain back and stand in your authority and your voice as the executive leader, as the leader, as the manager, as the front facing individual who strives to elevate up, all aspects can be achieved through the GPS leadership blueprint that you can find. And when you're ready to grow, you could do that, by checking out the case study or other areas in which of why it is that I do what I do at workwithmarymay.com. So go ahead.
Nope.
You was going to
You
say
good.
something? So, what
Mm-mm.
would be some of the key elements that we could wrap up our conversation with, and making sure that as people make that shift from being a quiet quitter to not being a quiet quitter, what would be some of the key elements you would hope that someone takes away from this conversation to create impact?
I would say, what's today? Today's Tuesday. So I would say, organize a meeting with your team in the upcoming weeks,
Hmm.
and as a group first, and then individually,
Hmm.
whether it's Friday or Monday, or whichever day suits best for you,
Hmm.
so you can get to know your team.
Hmm.
We have you express the goals of that you have, the vision,
Hmm.
create objectives to achieve them, and let's just review their qualities, their expertise, their background, and their goals.
Hmm.
Let's make sure everyone's in the same alignment. Like
Absolutely.
like I said, if they're not the graphic designer, let's stop putting them on the flyers. They probably make great flyers, but if that's not what they want to do, they just know how to do it. Let's outsource
Hmm.
and just pay someone to create it in bulk for the month or something.
Because they might be the person that's best to coordinate the celebration luncheon and
Yes,
getting the caterers and the event planned in that way, and not necessarily what is going to be communicated out as in the flyer and the intentions of things like that.
yeah. Let's just have a conversation. Let's just start with having conversations. Let's start with just treating people as people,
Mm,
and not just a paid robot or something. Because that's where the quiet quitters season. That's
right.
why we're here. Because
That's why we're here.
if they feel like that, they're gonna leave. Okay, they're gonna
Right.
leave, and now you're gonna be stuck to working in your business, and we don't want that.
Right.
Okay, so let's have some clarity. Let's have some conversations,
Hmm.
quality conversations, so you can move your business in the right direction, and your team feels encouraged to do the same.
And the thing is that we're saying that people will quietly quit and leave. Sometimes people quietly quit and stay, because
Mm,
it's easier just to stay and do nothing, and they know that they're going to still earn their income, without the accountability of needing to do something different. So their impact influence can kind of go both ways, if they're physically there but not mindfully there, not purposefully there.
at some point, they're gonna quit.
At some
Because
point they're going to quit
yeah,
physically,
it
or you
definitely
or
starts
you
that
have to
way.
have the other conversation and say, okay, we need to separate, roles and accountability. The next thing I think that I would suggest, as far as a key element to making a shift, is recognizing that we are about to go into the last quarter. What goals do you have in positioning yourself to recognize not only the last quarter and how successful you want to be? How are you creating those goals? How are you doing that strategy effectively? But then, are you positioning yourself to be prepared for what you would like to see yourself doing January 2023? Now is the time to do that as we approach the last quarter, beginning October the 1st. So it's like, are you in a position and being mindful of what that looks like, and what help do you need to kind of get there? What
Yeah,
help do you need to get there?
we have to identify what's going right and what's going wrong
Right,
before we can identify what resources we need to
right.
accomplish.
And your impact and influence always seems impossible until it's done. So
Hmm.
just be mindful that anything that you set your mind to, you are more than capable to do it, no matter how life has silenced you or shifted you in any particular way. So you don't actually have to be a quiet quitter. You can come grow with Miss Rihanna Edwards as an executive leadership fractional COO, or you can grow with leadership strategist and myself, Mary May, to be able to give you the assistance and support that you need in whatever position that you encounter this conversation.
Yes.
So, with that, I want to thank you all for joining us for another Tuesday morning cup of coffee and tea with your leadership nuggets here with me, as well as a second Tuesday executive blueprint leadership conversation with Ria. So, we are here together every second Tuesday with Rihanna, and then with me, of course, the following Tuesday. So, thank you so much for your engagement. Thank you so much for sticking in with us for the additional time, and hope that it served you in some way. If you find that it may have served someone else, please feel free to share. If you catch us on the replay, you jump into the comments on whatever platform you were joining us from. We will come back and share some love and give you some feedback. So, in the meanwhile, you stay safe, stay well, and we look forward to serving you soon. Take care.